Hi again then guys, and welcome to another video from the world of Fallout 4, and although you could say, well, it's 2020, who really cares? Plenty of us, myself included, still love Fallout 4, probably more so actually after Fallout 76, and we still play it. I've played through it a number of times, and of course there are always ways to improve your gameplay, make it more efficient, more successful, and this, I believe, is a very, very beneficial perk to those of you who maybe always find that you don't have enough caps, maybe you don't find enough of them, maybe you just need more to buy weapons instead of building them, for whatever the case may be, or maybe you just like trying to become a millionaire within Fallout 4, but you don't want to use mods, maybe you're more of a purist. Well then this is the method for you. Of course with mods it's easy, you can get caps like it's nothing, but this is, as I said, for those purists who just want to get it by basically milking the cash cow that is the game's natural, legitimate mechanics. Now, in order to use this method to its most efficient, I would recommend starting a new game. Now, you don't have to do that, but a lot of the stuff that I'm going to say will be a lot easier if you do. And I'll get to why right now. When you start the game, you of course assign the perk points and attributes to your character. And the two in particular that I would recommend are charisma and intelligence. Those unlock so many beneficial things that you can either talk your way through any situation or build weapons that are good enough so that you don't need to be strong and you don't need to be fast. You can just blow everything to hell. So those two things are very, very good. Now in particular, to do this method as quickly as possible, you want to have your intelligence at least up to the chemist perk level, which, if I recall correctly, is something like level 7. Now, of course, you could do a quick Google search and look on the chart to see exactly where it is under that intelligence scale, but I believe, like I said, it is either 6 or 7 on the scale. So upgrade your intelligence level to get that chemist perk relatively quickly, and then begin the game. Now, once you're in the game, of course, play through it as you usually would, walk around the house, get the baby, dump into the hole, go to sleep, wake up from sleep, kill some cockroaches, get out into the game. Now, of course, you've got some options. You could walk around the map first, you could begin straight into the story. I'll leave that down to you, but if you're looking to make this as efficient as possible, what you want to do is immediately go down into Sanctuary, which of course is where your home is. Talk to Codsworth, get him to go around the area. That's actually beneficial in its own right, because he will dispatch some of those flies instead of you having to do it yourself, and immediately get to work with opening up the bench. Now, of course, the bench will allow you to scrap all of the materials in the area, and this is crucial. Now, when I start a new game, unless I'm starting it with mods, I like to scrap everything I can, the trees, everything inside the houses, and a top tip that I will always give is there are certain things that you can only scrap when you're in a settlement. For instance, you cannot go into, let's say, an armor station and scrap a piece of random clothing. You can only scrap stuff that's basically already armor. So you can't, for instance, scrap a floppy cap, for instance, or a pair of goggles. So what you want to do is pick up all of those things as well through the bench system, and then drop them on the floor out of your inventory, and you can then scrap them as if they were from the settlement. That is something which you can use in any settlement, and it's highly beneficial, and it also makes everything you're carrying much smaller in its component form, which means that you can actually carry more of it. But to get back on track, what you want to do in particular is scrap as much steel as you possibly can. Now, as I said, I scrap everything, and that's the best way of doing it because you won't miss anything if you do it that way. But in particular, if you want to make it faster, go for all the steel you can possibly find. And that is very, very important to this method. In fact, it's the single most crucial thing. Now, once you scrap all of that, you'll probably be fairly close to leveling up anyway, if you haven't already. Now, go around the neighborhood. There's a couple of things which I've noted in this gameplay video as well, which are interesting, such as there's a gun bag on the roof of one of the houses that you could easily miss. There's a couple of moot fruit plants behind one of the buildings, and also there's the root cellar, in which you can find loads of beneficial stuff like gold, a safe that you can't open at that point in the game, etc, etc. But once you've worked your way through all of that, got all the steel in the neighborhood boiled down to its, component form, then what you want to do is get the chemistry bench. Now, you don't need, thankfully, to build a chemistry bench because there is actually one hidden behind one of the houses. There's also a food station, both of which, the chemistry and the food, are near to the bridge. Now, I'll probably show those points in the video as well, so you can see exactly where they are. Do not scrap those things. Pick them up and take them back closer to the bench, so that then you've got a weapons workbench, an armor workbench, a cooking station, and the chemistry all in one place. Now, you could keep the power armor one. I don't use power armor much, so you could scrap that if you want to. You will get some more steel, I believe, as well if you do, but that's down to you. Now, this is the point where things really get interesting, because now you've got a ton of steel. Probably not far off a literal ton, something like 12 or 1400 units of steel, I believe it is. Now, what you want to do is go to the chemistry station, scroll all the way down until you get to the section where you can manufacture caltrops. Now, caltrops are these small, kind of triangular spikes that you can throw on the floor, and people step on them and get a small amount of damage. That is irrelevant. I never use these as actual weapons. They're not particularly effective and they waste a lot of weight. But when you start crafting them, they make you level up very quickly, and all it takes to craft one is 5 units of steel. So you can build hundreds of these caltrops, or manufacture them in effect, in a very short time, just based on the steel that you've got from your home. Now, there is a finesse to this section, because what you could do is twofold. You could just work all of the steel you've got into just making those caltrops, but what I would recommend is watch the level up meter on the side of the screen. Once you level up once, stop making caltrops. Exit the chemistry menu, and then go to the perks page. Then, this is where that intelligence, when it comes to the chemist rank, comes in important. Scroll down to the chemist rank and install the first level. You only need the first level. I very rarely install any of the others, but that first one is crucial. And the reason why it's crucial is because that level 1 perk of the chemist allows you to now manufacture poisoned caltrops. So who cares if they're poisoned or not? Well, I'll tell you exactly who cares. Vendors care, because look at the value of those caltrops. They cost the same 5 units of steel to manufacture, but they're worth twice as much, and crucially, they also level you up more rapidly when you manufacture them. So what you will end up having, after you've crafted your way through all of these caltrops, both some standard ones and some poisoned ones, is without even leaving your home area and exploring the rest of the map, you will have already gained a good 2 or 3 levels of character play for you to assign a new perk to without even leaving that home area. That is a crucial advantage. You could assign it to weapons making, you could assign it to, strength, you can assign it to whatever you can do at that point. So the end result is that you level up very quickly. But of course, we're not just talking about leveling up, we're talking about caps. So where do the caps come in? Well, this is how I make the majority, if not all of my money, in legitimate Fallout 4 playthroughs. Because what you want to do is keep all of those caltrops in that building area in Sanctuary. You don't need to be carrying them around unless, of course, you're on a playthrough where you cannot fast travel, such as, I think, the insane difficulty or whatever, but for most of us, you can probably fast travel anyway. So, then what you want to do is basically leave them there for the time being. Then make your way to Diamond City. Now, Diamond City won't necessarily give you the best prices on everything. There are, I'm sure, certain vendors or travelers who will give you better prices, but it's also much easier to just jump back and forth between Diamond City and Sanctuary to transport all of your caltrops into the city. Now you probably think, well, where can I store them? You can store them, along with pretty much everything else that I personally carry in the game, in the weapons workbench next to Arturo. Now here's the crucial thing, and this is what I like to do. Once you've travelled to Diamond City and you can jump back and forth, bring all of your caltrops, if not everything else, to the city. Then, in particular, go to Myrna. Now, Myrna, of course, is the, I believe, Asian lady who does not like synths, who sells a ton of stuff, and crucially, she sells a lot of shipments. And that is the key. Now, you can sell the caltrops to pretty much whoever you want, but the reason why I would choose her is not because of what she'll buy from you, but because of what she sells. Now, you can sell these caltrops for a huge amount of money. Even what you've already made right at the start of the game, if you do what I said and just run straight to Diamond City, you've already got a couple of thousand caps worth of caltrops. And over time, if you use the method that I'm talking about, you will literally have more caltrops that you can ever sell. It's that good. You can, within a relatively short time, end up with 60, 70, 80,000 caps worth of caltrops, which of course is only limited by the fact of how much the vendor is willing to buy off of you. Now, here's where it gets good. The most expensive things that you can buy from a vendor is shipments. And of course, Myrna sells shipments of steel. And that's where it gets good, because this economy, kiddies, just became self-sustaining. So what you want to do is get your caltrops, go to Myrna, buy all of the shipments and components of steel that she's got. Don't buy weapons, that's not really worth it. Buy stuff like tin cans, whatever has steel components in it, but aim for the shipments in particular. She tends to swap between shipments. She'll have like a 250 and a 100 shipment, sometimes a couple of 100s, etc. Whatever she's got, buy them up. They will cost you a couple of thousand caps, except in reality, they ain't costing you nothing, because you're selling her caltrops and getting shipments of steel. Now here's the great thing. Where Dr. Sun works, you've got a chemistry station, so you turn your backside around with your new shipments of steel, run straight over to that chemistry station, and start the whole process over again. You can now manufacture a couple of hundred caltrops, usually at least a couple of hundred if not more, and then you can repeat the process going back to Myrna, sell the caltrops, get the steel, and it literally becomes a self-sustaining economy. Now there are ways that you can make this method even better, even more efficient, and make even more money. Now the two tips that I would give are try to increase the perks. I believe they're under the charisma perk, like level 1 or level 2, so it's pretty easy to get, where you get better bartering prices. Once you do that, of course, things will get even better, and the reason why that's better is you get more money for selling less caltrops, so it becomes far more efficient. But another crucial thing is, of course, once you've bought her shipments, she's now out of stock, so usually you'll have to go and do a mission, walk somewhere else and come back. But all you need to do is buy the shipments off of her, sell her however many caltrops she'll buy, then turn around and just sit on one of the benches right near the noodle stand. Decide to wait there for 48 hours, so in other words 2 full days, then get off the bench, go back to Myrna, and now she'll have full stock again. And from there on out, the sky is literally the limit. The only thing limiting the amount of caps that you can earn is your own boredom of sitting on a bench for 48 hours every time you do a sale. Now, I don't do this all the time. There was a playthrough that I did do it over and over, and if I recall correctly, without any mods at all, before even reaching like level 30, I had 100,000 caps. It's such a tiny amount of effort to put in to get so much money. Now for me, I don't tend to use caps that often because I prefer to manufacture the things that I need, such as weapons. But for those of you who do like to buy your way to success, which is certainly an easy way of doing things, this literally will give you all the caps you can ever need. Especially when you combine it again with, for instance, the perks that allow you to find more ammunition in containers and even find caps in containers. All of those things just make the method more and more efficient. That, as you can tell, is the way that I like to be in my games. I love to try and be as much of a businessman as possible, and this is the ultimate business method that I found in Fallout 4. So if you enjoy this method, the first time around it might sound a little bit complex, but trust me, once you do it once, you'll be doing it every time. It's so easy to do, and it is, as far as I've found, the best method, apart from mods, to get huge amounts of money, and arguably even more importantly than that, it allows you to level up your character incredibly quickly, especially the lower your class is. You can literally just do this method of going to Myrna, then to the bench, then to sit on the stool, then back to Myrna, and repeat over and over again to level up the character so many times in a ridiculously easy way. It allows you to essentially end up being like level 30 or 40 before you even meet any of the major bosses in the game. It's a fantastic method of both leveling and getting cash, and as long as you can stand the slight boredom of going back and forth, maybe just do it once every so often instead of constantly, you'll find that it gives you a very healthy boost to both your level and your bank account. So overall, I hope you enjoyed this method. If you did enjoy it, I would recommend showing it to friends, maybe share the video. Of course, that would be greatly appreciated. And tell me down below, what method do you like to use? Do you think you'll try this one out? If you have tried it out, tell me what you think. And of course, stick around on the channel for more Fallout content, and check out the playlist here on screen to see my existing Fallout 4 videos. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.